I know oftentimes people, especially men, sort of feel afraid to weigh in on the pro-life movement. The argument is often given that women need abortion. And after all, we'd be putting women in a sort of defenseless position if we weren't giving them free, unlimited access to abortion. But I'm here with Kristan Hawkins today. And Kristan, we spoke before, and you seem to take a different line on this topic. Not that women need abortion, but rather abortion harms women. Can you say a little bit more about that for us today?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. This is a critical point that we're making on college and high school campuses every day at Students for Life, that not only does abortion end an innocent, whole, living human being, right, both boys and girls, but it also will harm you as well. And this isn't a good decision for you to make. This isn't a healthy decision that's in your best interest to make. And I think what's so sad about the conversations that when we hear this line come up is that it's actually a form of extremism. I like to ask students, is there anything less extreme you can think of that we can help her through? Whatever circumstance she finds herself in, that you think abortion justifies, the killing of an innocent other justifies that circumstance. Isn't there anything less extreme we might be able to do to help her through that? Because at the end of the day, when we're talking about abortion, and how I became pro-life was volunteering at a pregnancy resource center when I was 15. Yeah. I met women who were coming into the center, who were sitting down in a counseling room with me, who had already had an abortion. Wow. Yet they were already there. They were there themselves again. And so you look back at their life, you realize, wait a minute, having that first abortion didn't take her out of the abusive relationship she was in. Yeah. It didn't help her get her GED, to get a job so she could leave the abusive boyfriend. Yeah. It didn't do any of those things. It just prolonged, actually, her suffering. It let her stay with that abusive boyfriend even longer. So now she's back at the pregnancy center again, taking another pregnancy test, now weighing her options. Do I now have a second abortion? Wow. Yeah. So it's almost as though you have a woman in a very vulnerable place, considering what she's going to do in this very difficult time in her life. And instead of giving her genuine help, what really happens is something that makes the situation even worse. Yeah. It's kind of like laziness. I think that's what it's not a real solution to a problem. And that's we all like to think of ourselves as caring individuals who have compassion for people who are suffering. Yeah. What Roe versus Wade did, and the 7 men, by the way, we want to talk about misogyny, 7 men who told all the women of America that in order to be equal to men, they had to have access to a special surgery that ends the life of another human being. You had this argument, and so now you have folks saying, "Oh, I care about women. Go have an abortion. I care about women. I have a pro-choice bumper sticker on my car," and it's really it's this laziness of we're just shipping her off to someone, a predatory abortionist, who will literally profit from her despair, and then we get to give ourselves a pat on the back that we're so pro-woman and we're helping her. But at the end of the day, did we actually help her? And we didn't. And we didn't take her out of the abusive relationship. We didn't end the poverty. And in fact, we've exposed her to now physical and mental risks, health risks, that she's going to have to suffer through and deal with the rest of her life. So let's talk a little bit about that, Kristan. So I can see how abortion ordinarily just piles catastrophe onto catastrophe, sending so many women into a further downward spiral, not giving them genuine help, but really just making the situation even worse. You just mentioned, physical health, mental health. Let's touch on some specifics for a second, if you wouldn't mind. What are the statistics? What really happens to women? Not, in addition to the harm that abortion obviously does to the child, ending the life of a child, the primary catastrophe of abortion.
you have women who are victims as well.
Yeah.
And give us some specifics. What happens to women who undergo abortions?
Well, it's interesting that we're seeing today with the rise of chemical abortion, with these chemical abortion pills that are now half of all abortions.
Wow.
The abortion industry, because of the reversal of Roe, because so many states have acted quickly to ban abortions and protect women from these predatory abortion agencies, they're trying to get these pills basically via Amazon. On her doorstep. These pills result in injury, infertility, and death of women.
Wow.
And we're not even investigating it. If a woman is Rh negative, she has a miscarriage. If she goes through with the pregnancy and results in live birth, if she has an abortion, if she doesn't get this certain shot during her pregnancy called RhoGAM, she may never be able to carry the term a child ever again, because what happens is after the birth or the miscarriage or the abortion of the child, her body forms antibodies that will literally attack every future pregnancy that she ever has. Now with the abortion industry, with chemical abortion, they're not even testing for Rh negativity status. That was the first thing when I was pregnant with my 4 children. The first thing they did after administering the blood test to confirm I was actually pregnant was to figure out if I was Rh negative. Like, this is standard medical practice. When we're talking about other risk factors, things like placenta previa that can kill a woman and her child, preterm labor, these things are already commonly accepted in the medical community, because when you go in to an OB office, one of the first things they'll ask you is how many abortions have you had? How many miscarriages have you had? Because the medical industry already knows you have to look out for these things. Mental health is the thing that, it's a silent killer of women. And you don't have to look very far. You can go to PubMed.gov, which is kind of the NIH, the National Institutes of Health, kind of like directory of all the peer-reviewed medical journals. Type in abortion, and you're just going to see a plethora of international studies about how abortion harms women. I mean, one of the most advanced studies that was a meta-analysis of a bunch of different studies on women's mental health showed an 81% increased risk to mental health conditions, whether that was anxiety, depression, substance abuse, suicide attempts, suicidal ideation. It's unbelievable.
81% increase. So if a woman has an abortion, there's an 81% increase in her odds of having mental health problems.
Absolutely. And some of the studies will show 150% increase in the risk for substance abuse, over 100% increased risk in suicidal ideation. I mean, some of these studies are shocking when you read them, and there's a complete gaslighting that happens though from the abortion industry. That is why you've seen a lot of attempts in the media. There was a book like abortion is a good mother, being good mother equals abortion, or abortion is a social good. There was a whole book written on that. You had women say, shout your abortion, and those things never work. But the whole idea is that we need to be proud of our abortions, and that if you're suffering from a past abortion decision as a woman or man, that's on you. That's your problem. That's not us, because abortion only serves to help women. And so there's this terrible gaslighting that goes on where we're not even recognizing post-abortion syndrome and the pain and trauma that women and men endure.
Kristan, and I think that right there, the gaslighting, the manipulation by the media, is one of the reasons why we're so thankful that you, Students for Life, other wonderful organizations are out there fighting the good fight. And I'd like to close this video on the harm that abortion does to women, to their psychological health, to their mental health, and of course, the catastrophic harm that abortion does to unborn women, by challenging everybody who's watching to say, hey, there are so many forces that are producing, that are advancing the culture of death in our society. And now in this post-Roe America, let us not sit back, but rather dig our heels in and fight all the more to build a culture of life in our society. Thanks so much.